Good evening, and welcome to the Clinton Items Candidate Forum for the June 12th election here in Clinton. My name is Gary Hutner, and I'm the publisher of the item. Tonight, we'll be featuring candidates in the race for Board of Selectmen and School Committee. Tonight's forum is being shot by Clinton High School students and will be available for view on YouTube. In the Board of Selectmen's race, 6 candidates are vying for 2 seats. Joining us here tonight are 5 of those candidates for Board of Selectmen. They are Sean Cunningham, incumbent Michael Jakonski. I know your name so well, and then I read it.
You just said it well.
Jakonski.
Yes.
Robert Epstein, Mariah Hunt-Laguerre, and Sean Kerrigan. The 6th candidate, John Martin, could not attend this evening due to a work commitment, and I will read his statement at the conclusion of the other opening statements. The format tonight will consist of opening statements, some questions, and closing statements. Each candidate will make a 2-minute opening statement. That will be followed by about 4 questions, with 2-minute time limit on answers. And we will conclude with 2-minute closing statements. We will be keeping track of time, and candidates are encouraged to look up, as you're talking, at item editor Jan Gottesman, who will make sure that you're staying on track. If you're not staying on track, we'll make some sort of noise. And if you continue to talk, I'll probably I'll try and cut you off not nicely. So without further ado, let's head into the selectmen's portion of our evening and opening statements. We're going to go in alphabetical order and then ask each question with the next person in alphabetical order. So, Mr. Kerrigan, we'll start with you. Nope. Mr. Cunningham. Well, you're both Sean. You know, I spent so much time putting this together, and Jakonski, I can't say that right either. All right, Mr. Cunningham, we'll start with your opening statement.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Sean Cunningham. I moved to Clinton about 4.5 years ago with my wife, Monica, on a business opportunity. We came here looking for a community to adopt. We spent a little bit of time looking around the Clinton before we started. About 2.5 years ago, that business opportunity came to fruition, and we decided to start looking for houses and make Clinton our home. We're also starting a family, so we started looking at school systems and real estate taxes and the cost of living. During that journey, we also found ourselves in a little bit of a gap in real estate. A lot of the real estate that we were looking at wasn't what we were looking for or too expensive. So we started looking in other communities. What we found were houses that we liked, but not communities that we like as much as Clinton. So we made a commitment and we started looking for fixer-uppers and ways we could find out more about the community. And as we did, we found out about school budgets, about gaps in real estate. And the bottom line is, my wife said, "Isn't this what you do, you know about?" So it was time for us to get involved. That business opportunity came to fruition. I look forward to living in Clinton, and that's how I found myself here today. Thank you so much.
Mr. Jakonski.
Hello, my name is Michael Jakonski. I sometimes have a hard time saying it myself. I'm here to talk with you this evening about my hopes that you will re-elect me to one last term on the Board of Selectmen. I hope that when you vote on June 12th, you will consider my past service to the town, my dedication to the town, and my vision for the town's future. And also my previous service to my country and my present service to veterans, to my fellow veterans. I'd also like you to think about our present Board of Selectmen, which I think has been diligent, hardworking, and goal-oriented, and I think has done a good job. Some of the accomplishments of the board over the last few years: we've established single-stream recycling, curbside recycling, turned the recycling center into a bulk item disposal center, and provided for hazardous material disposal at the Devon's Household Hazardous Waste Facility. We've rejuvenated the Christmas holiday celebration, established the tree lighting ceremony down at the park, and some of those activities started the initiative to upgrade the lighting throughout the whole town. We completed the Water Street Complete Streets program and began the Allen Street program. We've begun capping the town landfill, generating income for the town. And I'd like to point out, we did so without a great deal of rancor or bad feelings. We have been able to debate the issues. We've been able to settle our differences and move forward, and I think the board has done a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Epstein?
Good evening. My name is Robert Epstein. I'm running for a seat on the Select Board. There are two ways to look at town government, from the outside looking in and from the inside looking out. My initiation to Clinton politics actually came almost 30 years ago when we were new to town. I volunteered as a timer in an earlier incarnation of a candidate forum held at Town Hall. It was my initiation and I enjoyed it. I soon found myself on the elementary school council, then the elementary school building committee, followed by 5 terms on the school committee. I believe that I made a significant contribution to improving our schools, and am confident that that experience, coupled with my inquisitive and collaborative personality, will help me make a positive contribution to our town via the Select Board. My aspiration to become a selectman is not as a criticism of what anyone has done, but rather as a desire to give voice and contribute to the ongoing discussion of how we can, working collaboratively, help improve the town of Clinton. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hunt-Laguerre?
My name is Mariah Hunt-Laguerre. I moved to Clinton in July 1999. Both my boys grew up here in Clinton and went through the school system through middle school, and both served as all-star athletes. I grew up in Sudbury and went to Skidmore College in Saratoga Springs and graduated in 1981. After being in town for 18 years and having stayed involved in town politics, I'm sure many of you have seen me stand up during annual town meetings, and I did run for school committee twice. I have seen the town grow and change, mostly for the better, but sometimes not always. After sitting on the sidelines, I knew now was a good time for me to run. I am not a politician. I say things like it is, wear my heart on my sleeve. If I find something wrong, I try to make it right. If a group needs help, I'll do my best to find a way to help. I'm always thinking about the betterment of the group, not the betterment of an individual. I'm a collaborator. If I don't know the answer, I'll find the right people to ask. I plan to dive in quickly to look for ways to make the town government more transparent, more accessible, more accountable, more fiscally responsible, and work for all. These are big goals. It means I learn things I don't know anything about. And it means I ask questions and I get answers. It also means never taking "we've always done it this way" as an acceptable answer. My primary experience is project management and operations. I understand how and who to tap into to get things done. I create process where there was none, calm when there was chaos, and above all, do it within an allotted budget and time frame. My professional skills, my passion for the town and its people, and wanting to make it better for all are the driving forces in my run for Selectwoman. I hope I can count on you to make my run successful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kerrigan?
Hi, I'm Sean Kerrigan. I want to give a quick thanks to the item for putting this event on. My first journalism job was actually with the then Daily item, covering this board and other committees in town and surrounding towns. And I really think that supporting community journalism the way that's done at the item is a great way to ensure that local government does what it's supposed to do. I'm running for Board of Selectmen because I want Clinton to be better. If you give me your vote on the 12th, I will fight for clean streets and clear sidewalks. I will fight for access to Town Hall, no matter who you are, how long you've been here. I will fight for accountability and transparency. And I will work harder than anyone to bring responsible, smart economic development that is based on inclusive, comprehensive plan. We're going to hear a lot of problems tonight. What I want you to listen for is solutions. Because complaining about Town Hall and not doing anything is not good enough anymore. Sitting around and waiting for things to turn magically into good is not good enough anymore. Shrugging our shoulders and saying, well, that's Clinton, is not good enough anymore. We deserve better. We deserve government that is responsible, with our tax dollars that's responsive with our needs. I don't want to change Clinton. My family's been here a long time, and this town's been very, very good to us. But I know what Clinton is, and I know what Clinton can be. Vote for me on June 12th, and together, we can find that potential. Thank you for coming. I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you very much. Sixth candidate, John C. Martin couldn't be here tonight, so I will be reading his candidate statement. And I would like to point out to people who are watching this on YouTube, this is John Martin speaking, not me as you're watching this. So his statement is, I'd like to thank the item for holding this candidates night event and apologize for not being able to attend in person. I also thank the moderator for reading this statement. If elected, I will focus on 3 priorities. Put the town on the path to self-sufficiency, make town government more forward-looking and thinking, and 3, increase the transparency of town government's operations. Much of the town's budget comes from state aid. While the majority of this goes to the school department, the town is overly reliant on this aid to fund basic town services. I will work to scale the expenditures for town services proportionally with the benefits provided to town residents, conserve current and future assets and cash flow by avoiding expenditures that carry with them large operating expenses and/or obligations, and more fairly share the tax burden amongst residential, rental, and commercial taxpayers. To make town government more forward-looking and thinking, it is necessary to expand the focus from current procurement to include the operating costs, life cycle maintenance costs, and/or future obligations that the town must bear in relation to that procurement. I will bring the seemingly conflicting focus of longer-term thinking and greater attention to detail to the Board of Selectmen and shift the focus from how do we do this now to what the long-term consequences of doing this now might or will be. Town government can improve transparency in the way it communicates with the residents. A useful and timely town website would be a start. Reducing the number of executive sessions to only the most necessary topics will help. Ensuring that meeting minutes, both regular and executive session, are comprehensive, meaningful, and posted in a timely manner will be my goal. I will also commit to holding office hours before every Board of Selectmen's meeting so the residents can tell me their concerns and ask me questions. I will test the status quo way of doing business in town government. Like industry, town government should be constantly improving its functions with the goal of doing more with the same and preferably less. If this resonates with you, John Martin asks for your vote on Monday, June 12th. Thank you. You guys have a tough job. All right. Now that my tough work is done, we'll start with our questions. The first question will go to Mr. Jakonski to start. And that question is, what is the biggest issue facing the town, and why are you the best person to address it? What specifically do you bring to the table that the other candidates don't?
Well, I think that the biggest issue for the town moving forward, I think there are a number of issues. I think that moving forward, we want to continue the modernization of the town and the town government in this post-meltdown economy, as I like to think of it. I think that we have to begin fixing things and rejuvenating things, putting our best foot forward. In your own homes, when you're able to, you update and modernize, and in your apartments. I think we have to do the same with the town. The other thing that I think is a huge issue for the town is the town government needs modernization. So we're looking forward to having the town-wide maintenance person for moving forward with the combined treasurer and tax collector. I'd like to see us look seriously at a human resources person. And because I think that things like the evaluation of town employees and the development of personnel policies are quite backward. So I think we need to move to modernize the town, both in terms of its physical appearance and its governance. I think we need to do work also with customer service. By reason of the structure of the town and the lack of procedures, and also some standard operating procedures that are now outdated, I think that we don't always do the greatest job, and I think that that is also something that has to be looked at.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Epstein?
I don't know that I would single out any single one thing about the town, but I would say this, that my years on the school committee, one of the things that we did as a committee and as a school district is have a strategic plan. I'm not sure that the town has one. Perhaps they do, but I haven't heard about it. And I think that one of the things that that would do would be to prioritize and line up all the things that the town faces. We do have infrastructure issues. We have, obviously, the sewer, water, various contracts. We have a level of service in this town which makes this town very attractive, which I think makes people move here. I mean, obviously, there are low taxes, but I'm not sure that the level of services we have are sustainable long-term. The budget's getting larger and larger. Whether or not we need to have a strong manager or change the form of government, I don't know. That may be a possibility. But I think a strategic plan would enable us to prioritize that, and then we'd know what would it cost us, how would we go forward and budget for this. Because I think that the town, if they were all on board with that process, we may need to increase our taxes. I don't know what we would have to do, but I think that the plan would lead us in that direction. If we get consensus on the plan, I think the town could move forward. I think right now, my impression is, and I could be completely wrong, is that as things happen, we go for that fix. And I think a more organized and a strategic plan would be better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hunt-Laguerre?
Just remind everybody to please speak up because these do not amplify.
I'm going to throw out a saying, prior planning prevents poor performance. It's one of the statements I pretty much live my life by. I'm with everybody else. There isn't one main thing wrong, one thing that needs to get fixed. I would say there are probably lots of little things that we would need to fix. Infrastructure is huge, but there are lots of things I don't know. There are always two answers to every question. There are always two sides to every issue. And the idea is communication, transparency, understanding what the issues are. So that may take a little bit of time, and understanding why something is the way it is, whether it's because it's always been that way or not, what can be changed and what could be done differently. The question about why I think I can do it, I think we need some change. I mean, I think we need some fresh eyes, some tough questions. Then we need to have people searching for answers. So I would say that I'm not afraid to ask those questions. I'm not afraid to look for other answers, as unpopular as they may be. Everything needs to be put on the table. So I would say that was probably one of my big things.
Thank you. Mr. Kerrigan?
Thanks for the question. I'm going to go with economic development. It's one of the things that's bugged me most since I've come back, and it's one of the things I'm most passionate about. I think at the heart of this is the fact that we have to acknowledge what we are as a town and what we want to be. More so than any other town in the item readership, I think, Clinton was founded on its industrial base, its commercial base, and I don't think we can reach our full potential until we expand that, or at least develop it to its fullest. In order to do that, we need to talk to people and to listen to people and find out what we want to be as a town. What do we want to do with the mills? What do we want to do with the empty spaces? What do we want to do? Do we want to clean up these brownfields? Do we want to make that into something commercial, industrial again, or do we want to just keep building subdivisions? It's a hard question to ask, but it's something we have to ask because, like I said, that's the only way we're going to reach our potential. The other thing I think we have to acknowledge is that we are competing against every other town, and with Devens now, in a very competitive, crowded marketplace. And frankly, towns that have less than we have to offer are working harder than we are to attract people. Just looking at a list, Hudson, Sterling, Berlin, Bolton, all have economic development committees. Marlborough has a nonprofit economic development corporation that's sole purpose is to market the town, to develop properties, and to figure out how to get those into the hands of people who are going to develop them. I just think we need to consider putting more resources into economic development, figure out what we want to be as a town, and go out and be that. Thanks.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes, I agree a lot with what Mr. Kerrigan had to say. I think the fiscal budget crisis on a yearly basis is what affects us the most. We have a three-pronged program. The first thing we need to do is upgrade and our codes and our zoning to get them working for us. To have the answer that, oh, they paid their taxes, there's nothing we can do, that has to be over with. We need to upgrade and get our zoning and our building codes and our zoning codes working for us. Secondly, the planning department, the conservation department, the zoning department, all of it with the permitting, planning, and the meetings and administrative have a complete budget of $15,000. We need to increase this budget, and we need to get our enforcement working for us. An efficiently working enforcement department funds itself. And then thirdly, and most importantly, the Selectman's office needs to be the largest resource, not only in Clinton, but in our area. That should be the biggest resource area, so we are not waiting for somebody to come in and help us with our program. We identify our resources. We identify who we want to come to Clinton and be part of our community. What are the resources we're not using right now to fund all these great things that we want to do for our town? We need to change our codes. We need to change our zoning. I call them pride in our property codes and zoning. And we need to have a master plan with our planning and enforcement and our conservation, so we have people coming to Clinton that we want to do business with, that we want in our community.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so the second question will start with Mr. Epstein. Many of you have talked about an open and transparent government tonight. One issue in Clinton is that the town website is often out of date and infrequently updated. Smaller towns around Clinton have more active and better updated sites. What would you do in addition to doing more with the website to help residents keep informed about the goings-on in their government?
Well, I think communication, and especially in this day and age, is very important. And certainly keeping the website current, there are lots of people that are available to do that. Again, we certainly could tap into the schools. The kids in the school are more than up on that and can be helpful in doing that. I think that one of the things that I've always thought about the Select Board, I've always wondered why when we go to town meeting, there's a certain amount of reticence on people's parts to accept what they're presenting. And sometimes they're great ideas. But I'm always interested in the fact that people seem to think that they're pulling something on us. And I think that part of that would be communication. So whether we use cable and cable access, which I don't think we take advantage of at all, that certainly would be an easy way to do it. Again, we have the equipment now. It isn't a hard thing to do. Perhaps on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, the Select Board could communicate issues as they're coming. For example, if we did a strategic plan, we certainly would want to be able to communicate where that's going, what issues we're confronting, and get input on that, so that when we have our annual town meeting, it's more of a collaborative event as opposed to everybody looking at each other and saying, well, where'd that come from, or why are they doing that? I do think that we could do that, and with the technology that we have today, it's much easier. It doesn't become an expense.
Thank you very much. Ms. Huntlegaer.
It's a great question. So being in the marketing space, I'm going to tell you that we do everything by focus group, right? So there's a lot of people in town. There are a lot of opinions in town. We can ask questions. You know, we don't have a Facebook page. I know there's a resource issue, but I can guarantee you, as a president of a nonprofit, the New England Direct Marketing Association, that if you ask people to do things and if you do things for them that's not monetary, sometimes you'd be surprised at the answers that you get. We have a lot of really, really smart young people in town. We have a lot of people that have just moved here. We have a lot of new people in town that have no idea the hidden things that happen in Clinton. You know, a lot of people don't even know there's a cable access channel. We need to communicate better, but we also need to look to them to see how we need to communicate to these people. I've been in town a long time. I understand where all these things come from. I know where to go to get the answers to these questions, but I think out of the 13,000 people that we have in town, if you asked half of them, they would have no idea. They might also say they don't want to be involved, and that's fine too. But for the people that do, we need to ask them. We need to ask them to be involved. If they want to be involved, find a spot for them. Whether say, can you help us with a Facebook page? Can you give 2 hours a day? Something. Do you want to tweet? I don't know. I hate it, but somebody might like it. Somebody might like it. I think it's all collaboration. I think for Clinton, and believe me, I do love this town. But the thing is, we have a lot of people understanding that it's just taking responsibility, a small group of people taking responsibility for the entire town. We shouldn't be doing that anymore. There are 13,000 people here. We should use them.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kerrigan.
Communication's not enough. If we want people to buy into a budget and to a town government and to making something out of this town, we have to over-communicate. If there's any kind of vacuum of information now with Facebook and everything else, someone will fill it. All you have to do is look at Article 33 on the town meeting warrant, the chicken gate, which is lighting up Facebook right now. They can't decide if it's banning chickens or allowing chickens. I don't know where, it's a citizen's petition, so it must have started somewhere. But if something like this is important enough to be put in front of the voters, it's important enough to tell them why this is important. This is about chickens. Forget about getting to the budget or asking them for a 5% school committee increase. We need to go out and tell these people to treat them with respect instead of saying, well, they'll just vote for it when they get it. And again, we'll get to the website. But we have to do a town report. It's been 3 years. We haven't had a town report in 3 years. We're asking people to vote on a budget that they have to digest millions and millions of dollars that night at town meeting. It's just not fair. The website is coming along. I can't watch this on cable TV. Thankfully, it's going to be on YouTube. I have a satellite. So one of the first things I'm going to do once this new website is up is put town select meetings, as the school committee is, on YouTube so you can go and look at it afterward. It's just, with people cutting cords these days, and not everybody has cable, that's the very least we can do. And again, the communication thing, it's a nuts and bolts thing, and it's a philosophy thing. The nuts and bolts should be pretty easy to do, just going out and taking care of the things we need to do to get the word out there. The philosophy might be a little harder. The town is, there's some people in this town who are ready to give up. There are a lot of people in this town who are new, who don't know where town hall is. We need to bring everybody together, get on the same page, and figure out what we want to do. Otherwise, we're not going to reach our potential.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Mr. Cunningham.
Yes, I think everybody up here would make sure that the website is fixed. But this goes back to my other point earlier of the town hall, the selectman's office being a resource area. Out on the campaign trail, I can't tell you how many times I hear, geez, I want to get involved, but it's so tough. I got the kids, I got work. Why are we closed on Saturdays? Why don't we have a town hall that makes office hours around us? So that's my number one answer is I will have Saturday office hours every Saturday as I'm a selectman, so people have the availability and the time to come up and talk to a selectman. Secondly, I agree with Mr. Kerrigan. An economic roundtable. We have to get the businesses back involved and use all of our skills to identify the kind of companies that we want to come in and report back to the people who want on that board. And thirdly, if I'm elected selectman, I will keep my own website and keep people up to date on what happened at those meetings and hold me responsible. This vote took place. This is what we're talking about, a budget. I would keep my own and keep it up to date.
Thank you. Mr. Chikansky.
Well, first of all, let me say that I agree that the town webpage is in need of work, and we are in the, Michael Ward, the town administrator, is in the process of revamping that webpage. Personally, in terms of being in better touch with the townspeople, I just asked Michael to put my email address on the webpage so that if people want to email me, I can respond to them. I think we could do a better job of telling people what we're doing, and I think we could do a better job of involving them in the process. I have lately been thinking that we should do, the Board of Selectmen does a great deal of work through subcommittees. And those subcommittees, I think, are formed on a somewhat haphazard basis. I would like, going forward, to make a more concerted effort to get citizens and business people on those subcommittees so that they could have more of a say in what's going on, and by the same token, be able to better spread the word. I think we should make better use of Facebook. I myself do try to monitor the Facebook pages that have to do with the town, Clinton local politics and government, and the If You're From Clinton page and the item page. And when I think that I can add to them or provide some information, I do. And I will continue doing that. But the idea that the town should be more active in Facebook, I think is a good one.
Thank you. All right, the third question, we'll start with Ms. Hunt Laguerre. It is not about chickens. However, Mr. Kerrigan touched on exactly what this question is. So the town budgets for a town report every year, but it is not always printed. The report gives a more up-to-date picture of what the town did in the previous year than any other report, if done correctly and on time. Do you see the value in this report? And if so, what would you do to make sure it is done annually?
Okay, so I came from a printing background, so I would love to have this book printed. I have to tell you that when I first got to town, the first thing I did is go to the town hall and gather all the information that I could, including the printed annual town budget. In particular, I asked during the last selectman meeting if I could be made available the FY 2016 annual town meeting budget. It's 138 pages, so printing it would be a little bit costly. Not impossible. I think the problem is, the challenge, is that people that want it know where to get it. But I don't think a lot of people understand what's in it and have digested what's there. I think it should be printed. I think it would be a tough thing. I know we have Clinton offset printers. I work with Joe a lot. I don't know if he'd be willing to donate some of his time to printing this. I think it is a good, clear identification of what's happening in town. And when you look year after year after year, if you are so inclined to do so, you can see the changes in the town via the budget. It's a lot of really good information, and people that need to be informed are informed the easiest through that method. So I would say we probably should.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kerrigan.
Yes, as I said, publishing a town report is it's the law. It's the least we can do. And I realize publishing and mailing it to everyone is probably impractical, but with PDFs now, we can certainly make that available on a more enhanced website. I think the point is, as I was saying before, that we really need to reach out and go to people. As Mariah was saying, like, some people don't know where to go. We need to go out to them and make them feel like they're part of this town again. One thing, and coming as a former reporter, I'm used to coming up with kind of off-kilter ideas and seeing if they fly. I'd be happy to consider things like, there are some cities that do participatory budgeting. They take a small section of discretionary funds and basically turn it to the people. Say, here's a deadline, come up with some proposals. If you want laptops for the kids, if you want Wi-Fi's in Central Park, we'll give you $5,000, $10,000, and the town votes on it. If they want to give half to this, half to that, it gets people involved. It makes them feel like they have some skin in the game. Even though they do, they have all the skin in the game. But even if we could just go out and try things like this, we have to do something. There's too much resentment breeding out there and miscommunication. If we're going to ask people to come on board and try and do daring things, which is what it's going to take to make this town better, they have to have some buy-in. We have to go out and treat them with a little more respect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cunningham.
Yes, I agree that there has to be a lot more public access to this information, whether it's printed, whether it's online, whether it's we need to get this information out to the citizens on a regular basis, but more importantly, we have to do it in a timely fashion. We're about to make decisions on a $50 million corporation. I have 2017 here. I've been asking for projections for 2018 since I took out nomination papers, and I still don't have the numbers. We're going to start making serious decisions in the next 10 days on a $50 million corporation, and most of the people don't even know where to get the information. We need, again, to go back to our bylaws and our codes, and as a town, put deadlines in and hold us accountable. We should start this process in the middle of January, so everybody has an open and honest discussion about where they want their tax dollars spent. Not only do we need access to the information, but we need a timely fashion in that we're responsible to get it to you in public access.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chikansky.
Well, first of all, with regard to the yearly reports, which are about 3 years behind, let me say that I think the responsibility for that falls on the town administrator and the Board of Selectmen, and primarily on the Board of Selectmen. I think that it is a problem that they were not published, and I apologize for that. I take responsibility for not being more careful. The one thing I will say somewhat in my defense is we have been a very active and busy board, and we have accomplished a lot, and somehow the reports just slipped by us. And I guess, you know, it's sort of one of my rules of life is the one way never to make a mistake is to do nothing. And we have done much more than nothing on the Board of Selectmen. Being on the Board of Selectmen, I just got an email that the 2016 annual report is on the website as of about an hour. I mean, I don't wish to upstage anyone. I am on the board, so I got the email.
I was going to give that breaking news.
Oh, were you? Okay. The 2018 budget has been on the website for some time now. And it is publicly debated by the Board of Selectmen. We do the best we can to keep people informed, but certainly we can do a better job. So I guess that's my answer.
Thank you very much. Mr. Epstein.
So an annual report, I used to produce that for National Grid. It's useful information. Obviously, you can see where the money went last year. And I guess that's the downside as well, because it's last year's. And anything that we put out, having access to next year's, this current fiscal year's budget in a timely manner would be very helpful, I think. And obviously, then you could do a comparison if you want to. You could burrow into it if you want to. So I think it's a useful document, but I think the current budget is more useful, and I have to say, I mean, it could be my imagination, but our town meeting is now in June. I think it used to be somewhat earlier. It seems like it keeps getting later and later, and I'm not exactly sure I understand why. I know sometimes the governor's budget doesn't get approved and everybody's waiting for final numbers, but a lot of towns do take care of their budgets seem a little bit earlier than we do. And I do think, so I do agree the annual report's an important document. It's a roadmap of what we did, and an accurate budget going forward is really important because that's where we're going. And I think having that in a timely manner will enable people to vote in a responsible way.
Okay, thank you very much. So this will be our last question, and then it will be closing statements. You're all doing great. Hang in there. All right, we'll start with Mr. Kerrigan with this question. It seems like Clinton does a lot of studies. Often, like with parking and lighting, those studies get shelved, only to be repeated a few years later. Are there issues you think have been identified that you would want to act on rather than commission another study on? How would you move certain subjects forward?
Well, that's a great question. And one of the first things I did when I was considering this run was to try and figure out if I was crazy. Like, if the things that I saw as problems, why did no one else see them? On one hand, I was very encouraged because there is a master plan from 10 years ago, and I think they rebooted it 5 years ago. There is a 2012 study of priority development properties, the Bigelow Mills. There's a Sterling Street property, and there's land off of West Boylston Street. It's a very thorough, fantastic study of the challenges that these properties face, the potential benefits these properties could bring. And I don't know what happened to them. I don't know if other projects got in the way or if the challenges were too big. But we know what we can do. We know what is out there and how we can fix it. One of the problems, though, is that we talk a great game. In the master plan, for example, we talk about improving the town's appearance and quality of life, preserving open space, protecting the town's historical architecture character. On the other hand, I see people a few streets over from me on Prescott Street who have been fighting for months to try and at least slow down a development that's going to be jammed behind them, that's going to clear cut an entire hill, that's going to put, originally it was 10, now I think it's down to 5 units, in behind existing properties. I don't see how that does anything that we said we want in the master plan. So again, it's going back to what do we want this to be? Do we want to clear cut all our open space and put condos in there? Or do we want to look at the properties that we have that are underdeveloped that can contribute to a robust, sturdy tax base that can help everybody, that can help with the revenue side of our budget, and can make this a town we can be proud of again?
Thank you very much. Mr. Cunningham.
Yes, once again, I agree with Mr. Carrigan on a lot of the things
Sean's
that he
sticking
said.
together now.
We do have a lot of studies in this town, and it doesn't take too long to figure out our resources. We all know about Clinton. One of the studies that I haven't found or commission that I haven't been able to get is who we want, who is looking to relocate, who do we want in our town, what companies can we come in and help us get our tax dollars, our tax base to where we want it, and also add to the community. This used to be a manufacturing town. During the campaign trail, I've heard about assisted living. I've also heard that we need to help people open up small shops because we're losing it to the mills. We have to get a master plan that includes rezoning and updated codes so we make the decisions about about how we live and what real estate is going to be developed and project our financial future. So we don't every year come to June and make a $50 million decision without the information. So the answer is I would absolutely want to go over some of the old studies before we did them, but we also have to look outside of Clinton, see what the industries are out there, and make Clinton inviting to them to come be part of our community, part of our tax base.
Thank you. Mr. Chikansky.
Before I was on the Board of Selectmen, I would have very quickly agreed that we do many studies because people have a tendency to believe that things are simple. That, oh, well, we want to redesign the lighting on High Street. Just go ahead and buy the light poles and put them in. Over the years on the Board of Selectmen, I have found out that it is much, much more complicated than that. There's a lot of technical, construction, and social things that have to be considered, and a study, I think, is very often a good investment. With regard to the lighting, we did do the lighting study. We are going to town meeting this year with a warrant article for the design phase for upgraded decorative lighting in the town of Clinton. One of the big reasons I'm running is that I am bound to determine that before I leave the Board of Selectmen, that we will have better decorative lighting in the town of Clinton, and we will light up High Street at Christmas time the way we used to do in the 60s. And one of the things that holds things up is finding the funding. Now, the present board decided to recap the landfill and take profits and devote it to capital improvements. To do the length of High Street and decorative lights might cost $2 million. We didn't have $2 million, so we did the studies, et cetera, et cetera. I think the studies are important. I think they're not a waste. I think we are moving forward, putting our best foot forward, making the town look better. And as for open space, we just bought another 25 acres along with Sudbury Valley trustees, the Sheshlook property, 40 Caves. So I don't think all of the studies are ruined, and I think people are naive if they think they are absolutely not necessary.
Thank you. Mr. Epstein.
Well, I think I'd get back to my earlier answer. I think a strategic plan would lead us to make decisions. One of the things I've seen in town, I remember when they put a stoplight down at the bottom of Church Street. You'd think the world was coming to an end. And I remember there was some argument that they wanted to make that a flashing light. And every time I'm at that light, and with the amount of traffic we have going through town, I think, oh my goodness, it was a very good idea not to make that a flashing light, because you'd never get out of there. And I think about intersections. I'm sure there are a lot of studies. I've talked to Phil Duffy about parking on High Street, all the different issues. But putting a stop sign, it seems to be a major obstacle. But I think at one point in our town, at the corner of Church and High Street, there was a policeman actually directing traffic. I'm sure the traffic in those days was nothing like it is today. Why that can't be a four-way stop, I have no idea. But until someone gets hit, I mean, my understanding is I keep getting, you can't get a stop sign, but amazingly, on corner of Walnut and Church Street, that appeared when someone got hit, literally the next day. So I don't really quite buy that. The bottom of my street, you can't have parking and sight lines. And it's a small town. Everybody likes to be able to park their car. It's not asking too much to make it a safer town. And I think one of the things that you could do is look into some of those studies. But I think that the traffic through town could be managed without impeding anybody's progress. And so I think we look at those studies, but I think some of those things could be implemented to make it a safer town.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Ms. Hunt-Laguerre.
So I'm a doer by nature, so I would always say, yeah, let's do it. But as Mr. Epstein points out, nothing's simple, especially in a government situation. It's probably even more complicated than you think. So the warrants that are out, there's $100,000 on Article 23 to design and develop downtown decorative streetlights. There's another $175,000 to retrofit street lamps. I think in my world, what I would do is I would chunk it out. I would say, what are these things really worth this amount of money? There's a little over $1 million added to the budget in these warrants. The question is, are we doing the best we can with the money that we have? And then the other thing I would do is, if we need a study, the study needs to be cut off at a certain amount of money, saying, okay, at $25,000 or less, we do it. I mean, I'm making these numbers up, but at $75,000 or more, we need to have a committee look into maybe putting it out there and saying, do we need to spend it? I mean, we need to be responsible with our money in Clinton. I mean, we have not to correct anybody about the budget is $56 million. The budget for FY18 is 16% more than last year. That's a lot of money. I mean, we all had a big problem when we did the override and that budget went up 5%. I don't know what's going to happen when it goes up 16%. You'll see me at the town meeting asking that question. But I think we need to really just look at these things and understand why it's here. Do we really need it? Like, yes, I would love to have everything new. I would love to have everybody get what they want, but that's not realistic.
Great, thank you very much. So that's it for questions. I hope the audience learned something, and people watching on YouTube will learn something. I think everybody gave some excellent answers. Thank you very much. We're going to go into closing statements now, and again, we'll start with Mr. Cunningham.
Thank you. And thank you for holding this forum. When making your decision on June 12th, we're facing some very difficult decisions. I have over 20 years of experience in real estate. I've helped write bylaws. I've helped write zoning. I've built and I've financed. I have the experience from both ends of the table. I've sat on the other side of the table on bylaws that I wrote and knew what to expect. When I came to Clinton, I came for a manufacturing opportunity. At that time, it was a two-man job shop with 4 customers. In that time, we have now 15-man production shop. We have a full-time engineering department. We have a full-time quality department, and we do business with over 25 new companies that come to Clinton to do business. I walk on the campaign trail, and I get the same thing as like, why can't we do it? We can. We're doing it right now. My wife and I love it here. We're going to start our family here. When you cast your vote on the 12th, please think about who has the experience. And no matter how many studies or no matter how many subcommittees that we all make, And I think everybody up here has good intentions. It's going to take hard, hard work, and we need to get Clinton working again for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jaconski.
Like Mr. Cunningham, I'd like to thank the item for hosting and moderating and organizing this event. I'd like to thank the people who are out there listening right now, and thank the people that'll tune in on Facebook. I would also like to thank my, I wouldn't say opponents, I'd like to thank the other people at this table and Mr. Martin also, because without them, we have no democracy. They show an interest in the town and an interest in our nation by putting themselves forward. People in the town know me, know that I work hard, know that I can be creative, and I try to get things done. I hope they will take that into consideration when they vote on June 12th. But I always end my candidates night by telling the story of Tip O'Neill. Tip O'Neill, in his book, Man of the House, tells the story about running for a local office and seeing his neighbor one day shortly after the election. And he said, Mrs. Jones, did you vote for me? And she said, no, Thomas, I didn't. And he was very surprised, and he says, well, you've been my neighbor, and we've been very friendly, and why didn't you vote for me? And she says, well, Thomas, you never asked me to vote for you. So with this last closing words, I ask you to consider my hard work in the past, and I ask you to vote for me on June 12th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Epstein.
I want to thank the item and my fellow candidates for making this evening possible. The Town Fathers had a clear vision and endowed Clinton with institutions and infrastructure we manage and use every day. Town government, the Select Board, as well as the other boards, are tasked with maintaining that vision. The challenges facing us are many, as we've said tonight: crumbling roads, antiquated water and sewer lines, rising healthcare costs, fire and police contracts. Not all of this falls directly under the Select Board, but every big issue involves multiple boards. I'm a tireless promoter of all things Clinton. I want to help make this little town a standout in the Commonwealth. My 15 years on the school committee gave me an insight on how to work collaboratively and reach a goal. I liken joining the Select Board to stepping on a moving train. I know it will take a few meetings to understand the rhythm, but I'm a fast learner, and I'm eager for that challenge. I ask for your support on the 12th and to become a member of your Select Board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Huntliger.
I didn't prepare a closing statement like my opening statement, but what I'd like to say is, first of all, thank you, and thanks everybody. This is not an easy job on top of everyone else's day job. I don't expect the job to be easy. I think the thing that I find most is that I'm looking to make sure that we check into every angle. You know, there are people that have never been heard from in Clinton, whether they don't know how, whether they don't want to. And so I feel that we need a community, even now more than ever. I go to these meetings and it's always an us versus them mentality, and it shouldn't be that way. The town should be for everyone. The town should work for everyone. And that sometimes means asking tough questions. It means bringing up issues that nobody wants to hear about, and that's what makes it hard. But it's not that it can't get done. There are very, very many dedicated people in this town, a lot of whom are in town government at this point. And we need to keep them there, but we also need new people in. The people that are transients from other locations that come here and may stay for 2 to 3 years, guess what? We can actually make them work for 2 to 3 years, get their opinions, and get something new on the table. That should be everybody. That shouldn't just be lifers that are in Clinton. We need to be a community more than anything else. And to me, that's about communicating, asking questions, and trying to get things done. So I hope that I've gotten across my experience. I can be tough. I can be soft, believe it or not. And I'd like to ask for your vote on June 12th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kerrigan.
I will echo the thanks. In this day and age, it's encouraging to see so many people come out for this and for the school committee, which is following us. So thank you for putting this on. Also, this evening went by a lot quicker than I thought it would. Please visit kerriganforclinton.com for more information on my campaign and things I stand for. Over the past 2 months, I have spoken with anyone who would listen about how we can make Clinton better. I've spoken with Republicans and Democrats, seniors and young parents, lifelong residents, new transplants. Some believe that town government has failed them. They don't believe in town hall anymore, and they think the people there don't stand up for them. Others think that we're the next great Massachusetts success story. They point to our low taxes, to our solid services, and say that the planning we've done is in place to put us in a position to do great things in the next few years. One thing they all agree upon is that what we do in the next 10 years is going to affect this town for generations. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm running for the Board of Selectmen. And that's why I'm asking you for your vote on the June 12th. If you're a skeptic, a vote for me is a vote for transparency and accountability. I want you to believe in this town again, and I will do whatever it takes to restore that trust. If you're hopeful, a vote for me is for continued planning and for re-energized action. Any success we have over the next couple years is going to be something we chase down. And as selectman, I will not take my foot off the gas pedal. If you're in the middle, a vote for me is a vote for what we all want, a better Clinton with a robust tax base and improved quality of life. Thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you for caring. Vote for me on June 12th. Together, I know we can make it Clinton. That's better for all of us.
Thank you very much. I also want to thank Mr. Martin, who, as we mentioned earlier, couldn't be here, but sent us his candidates, who sent us his opening statement. As Mr. Kerrigan pointed out, one of the great things about what's happening in Clinton is we have 6 candidates for 2 seats on the Board of Selectmen, and you don't see that in a lot of communities, and there's a lot of interest, and that's great to see, and it says something for the town. So thank you all for stepping up and doing this. We're going to transition to the school committee now. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I know, this whole my care thing was very difficult. They all think that I like my Yeah.